Can you just kind of generally tell me what it is that's happening with the property increase proposal?
So there's two different pieces to that. One is the reappraisal of properties that was done by the county. We don't have any input or participation in that. And then with that reappraisal, the state sets the certified tax rate for us based on our budget from last year. So that is to keep us budget neutral. No increases, but that's just setting that rate. So then to do any increases to account for wage increases or just cost of doing business, there then is a public hearing to do a tax increase over the certified rate. So our current tax rate is $2.25. The certified rate came in at 1.5397, and so any increase to the 1.5397 would be considered a tax increase, and that's what we're having to propose right now.
Okay, and how much is that increase?
So right now we are, the discussion at City Council at their work session last week was to bring that tax rate to $1.92. We're still looking at that and working to try and get that down. We've been doing that for 2 months now during that budget process, and so I can't say that it will still be 192 that the council approves. If anything, it will go down. It won't go up, but if anything, that rate would still go down a little bit.
Okay, and just to put into perspective, how is that going to affect residents, like per $100, let's say, like, or something like that? Do you know?
That's a hard one. It's especially hard this year to say just generally for a property it will impact by this much because of that reappraisal. It really is based on what that new value is and then what that rate is. So you almost have to look at it single property by property, and then it even varies by residential property to commercial properties to agricultural properties. There are so many variables that it's very difficult to just give a general. It's this.
Yeah.
So.
And how much, or where is the money that is collected going to go to specifically?
So it goes to various things. The bulk of the increase is going to bring our wages to market rate. We've been doing department analyses. We did police and fire this past year. We're in the middle of public works right now. We've got park and recreation, general services, community engagement and events, finance, everybody else. So the entire rest of the city staff that we're in the process and will be completed in fiscal year 2026. So there's been money set aside to help conduct those department analyses and do the wage adjustments that are necessary. Our staff have been paid under market, so we don't want to pay them high, but we need to pay what the average market is in this area, and we've been having to correct that over the last 2 years. It's been it's those department analyses have been very, very detailed and include our staff in that work as well. So it's just been a long time in the process, but that's where the bulk of it will go. Also, just our general cost of doing business, just like everyone at home and any other business, we've seen increases. We've seen increases in the chemicals it takes to treat our water, in the salt we have to put down when we have storms. Just our general cost of doing business has increased, so we're having to make up for that. We've been very lucky in that we haven't had to do tax increases until last year for many, actually since 2010, because we've had sales tax coming in from the Pinnacle and other commercial development that's been able to backfill that property tax piece. And then when COVID hit, the federal government was providing monies to individual municipalities, counties, other government entities. That's no longer available either. So really now we're looking at how do we move forward and continue to be able to provide the services that we do. We're trying to do them as efficiently as possible, but it takes money to do those, and that's the position that we're in now.
Okay, so this decision wasn't easy to make.
Absolutely not. No, it's difficult for everybody, and I'll say our staff. I've sent staff back to relook at their budgets twice now, trying to find cuts and other things that we can do to maintain our level of service, but just do it more efficiently, do it with as minimal budget impact as possible, and this is where we've landed. We really are now to the point where there's nothing else to cut unless we cut services.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, my stomach's growling. But a lot of people have asked why sales tax doesn't increase to burden, people, tourists and stuff like that. So what do you say to that?
Actually, we're limited by the state government as to what that sales tax rate can be, and it has to go through an entire process to increase that sales tax. I can't say that we won't ever look to increase that. It's not something we're looking to do at this point, but there's a process to that, and even if the City Council chose to look at that, it would be longer than a 1-year time frame to be able to put that into place. So it really wouldn't affect our fiscal year 26 budget.
Okay. Are there any misconceptions that you want to clarify as to, where this money's going to go or stuff like that?
Yeah, there's a few things I've heard out there that I would like to clarify. The first being the city manager's budget. People are saying that I'm, making all of what is shown in that budget, which is about $997,000. That is not the case. Actually, that budget is our entire city manager department, so it's myself and our administrative assistant, but also it's all of the operations for the city manager area. And the bulk of the money that's in there right now, about $700,000 of that $997,000, is actually in there as the placeholder for that department analysis implementation. It will be transferred out of the city manager's budget as we do the department analyses and those wage adjustments. It was put in there for those. We don't know how much money needs to go to which department, so it was just kind of parked in that fund. So it was transparent, everybody knew it was there, but they also knew that it was going out. So that's a big one. The other is the Elsie King property. We are purchasing that property, but I think it's important to note that that is a tax neutral, actually hopefully a beneficial purchase for us. We're looking to that space to provide art space, but also city office space. So we're able to eliminate a lease there, and we're able to reallocate from another area that we're providing funds for that we can't cut. By law, we're not able to cut those funds, but we can reallocate them. Those will actually pay for more than what we have on debt service for that building. And then we're looking at the potential to lease out some of that space to make some revenue. So that is not an impact to property taxes. I think that's an important one. The other is the Explore Bristol building over here on the corner of the Parkway and Anderson. That is not being funded with taxpayer dollars either, property tax dollars. That is funded with, it's a partnership. Explore Bristol is a partnership. The city is the primary partner in that. But the occupancy tax with hotels and short-term rentals and campgrounds, that money is what's paying for all of our tourism and marketing, including the facility. That money can't be used for anything but tourism and marketing under state law. So that is what is funding that, not property tax dollars. The baseball stadium I know has come up quite a bit, and yes, that is an impact. It's about 2 cents, 2 to 2.5 cents on the tax dollar for the $5 million, but it's a great way for us to leverage with a wonderful partner in Boyd Sports, private funding, to the benefit of really our high school team, our youth within the community with other rec programming, both by our city park and rec department and MLB, but also for the community as a whole with the state liners coming back to Bristol. So the benefit of that, I think, especially for the children, we've talked about that needing to be the focus of that renovation. So I think that's an important piece to note as well. And just one other piece that people have seen paving on the parkway, and people have complained about, maintenance of the parkway, and we can cut back in that. That's actually not done with property tax dollars either. That's done under a maintenance contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation. So we really do try and manage our resources and partner where we can, so we get leverage with other private and public partners to get as much as we can for the community, and I think we do a very good job of that. But those are the big, I think, things that I think warrant clarification, and there's probably more, but those are the big ones.
Lee, did you have?
I was just thinking one thing, just to clarify. what is like the percentage that the employees are kind of off on being up at market rate? Is there like a percentage, like what kind of raises might they get, 5% or 10%? I mean, how far off are they?
It varies, and part of the department analysis, we literally have been going in looking at each individual position. So not just one. Within the department is every single position, and we send that information to a compensation consultant, and that consultant then runs all of their statistical analysis, and they say for every single position what that wage scale should be. And then we put people within that scale based on their years of experience, how long they've been here, and all of that. So I can't say it's 5% or it's 10%. I can say for police and fire, for full implementation, it's been this past year with the department analyses, we're looking at about $1.5 million. And they're about a half of our total city employment population. So it was significant, and we knew that going in. I'm hoping that our other departments aren't as far behind, but I can't even say that with much confidence right now. Without our comp consultants are working through the public works piece as we speak. So yeah.
Well, to wrap it up, what would you say to those members in the community? I know that there's been a lot of discussion around this, so what would you say to them?
We hear you. We feel for everyone. We pay taxes too, and I know doesn't make anybody feel better, but we're doing everything that we possibly can to minimize that impact, but we do understand it is an impact, and we will continue to work as diligently as we can to cut costs, to find other sources, to backfill those revenues, to look for ways to help the property owners, and just minimize the impact as much as we possibly can.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
All right,
Is there anything else you want to add?